because that's what Merlin does. He gets shit together.
Okay, we're live on YouTube now. So
okay.
I'm going to start the recording, then we can actually get started with
Okay.
the thing. Okay.
Welcome to Photography Chat with Merlin. Photography Chat with Merlin.
All right. Welcome to the 100th episode of the Photography Chat. So this is the third year, so season 3, and the 100th episode. But for season 3, this is the 31st episode with Charles.
100th episode.
Yeah, 100th episode.
I'm big on dates and those round numbers, like the paper anniversary, the diamond anniversary, and all that kind of stuff. So I really like that I've landed on the 100. Yeah. That's actually kind of cool for me.
I thought it was pretty cool because I was like, when I figured out how many episodes it was, I was like, that's cool that Charles is going to be the 100th episode, and also that we're doing another in studio stream. And I think this time I figured out the fucking audio. So Instagram land, tell me if y'all can hear us okay, and if you can, I'll let Charles do it. The fun. Welcome to the 100th episode of the Photography Chat with Merlin.
What is this? What is this again that we're listening to?
This is The Price is Right.
Yeah, this is The Price.
It's like, come on down. Let him know what he won, Johnny.
I am a huge Price is Right song. In my youth, I actually wrote a Price is Right song, which I can't sing here. It was too lewd and too dated.
Okay. Were you guys able to hear that on the Instagram land?
My one fan, if they can respond, that would be great. My one fan.
You've got plenty of fans,
They're in-person fans, though, mostly. I have a digital presence, but I think that most of my world is lived non-digitally.
I mean, I think that's important in this day and age because, so much is digital. And with that, even though it seems like we're connecting more, it does divide us a little bit more.
It isolates. I don't know if there's this big word of divide. We're using a lot of words right now to encompass a lot of things. And one thing I've been noticing is that it's not as much divide as isolation. And then isolation leads to that division and that separation, right?
Well, I think there's still a bit of a divide with it, though, too, because it allows factions of people with certain ideologies to connect, which may not have been able to connect before.
Agreed.
And then we get things like the Freedom Convoy.
Yeah, Proud Boys. I just watched a whole thing on the Proud Boys and how they actually use digital to do exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's not lost on me that I'm a 6'1" bald white man talking about the Proud Boys, but you understand that all it needs for hatred, anger, division, all it needs is a common place for those people to gather to gain
exactly.
strength.
And kudos to them. They just bought a church somehow.
Church.
Yeah.
Really? A loving church of hate. Yes.
They're starting a religion. We should start a religion.
You and I think personally, can I ask a question though? Because I think starting a religion, I'm in for it. Do either of us have to be figureheads, or could we find a figurehead? Because I have a friend.
We should make Zenna the figurehead.
No, actually, I've actually worked out a cult. Oh no, sorry, religion. I've got plans for when the zombie apocalypse comes. I have plans for a cult. My friend Claude Duhamel is one of the greatest human beings in the known universe, and I think he is the only person qualified to truly be a cult leader. And then to have people like yourself, I and Zenna, pull the strings, right? But the point for you and I is when the cult collapses, which it eventually does.
They always
do, right? To have an out, so you're not quite associated. You're so deep in the background that you just take the money and run.
See, I'm totally down to have a cult if we can not quite mirror Scientology, but in that sort of ballpark. Because I want those write-offs like L. Ron Hubbard got.
Yeah. Do you want a lie detector and all that kind of stuff as well?
Well, Okay, so in my more drunken degenerate days in the early 2000s in Vancouver, I spent a lot of time day drinking.
Yeah.
And I was downtown Vancouver one, I think it was a Wednesday or something, walking down Hastings. And
the old L. Ron Hubbard house in
they were.
Hastings.
And they were giving out like the free tests.
Yeah,
and
which
they're
I've
like,
taken.
yeah, and I like talking to strangers,
Mhm.
and even more so when I'm wasted. So this stranger starts talking to me, and they were like, "We're worried about you," and I'm like, "Oh God, what's wrong?" So I'm like, "Tell me more."
Just waiting for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what should I be worried about? Oh my God. And yeah, they were like, "We need to see if you're safe," and they made me like hold these like the big chrome sticks or whatever with like
the lie detector.
Yeah, and they asked me a bunch of questions, and I broke their machine, and the guy got really mad at me, and he's like, "We can't help you here." And I'm like, "No, but you got me scared. Like, you convinced me something's wrong with me."
No, but I love the fact that they were waiting for you.
Yeah.
And then there was no place for you.
No, there wasn't.
Is that a bit of a story of like people waiting for you and then there being no place?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
welcome to life.
Kind of happened. I'm like a stepping stone person. So
I want to get back to the cult though here for a second,
Okay,
because
yeah.
because I'm I set these scenarios up in my brain, up in my brain all the time. And so for me, I've discovered the downfall of all cults.
Oh, what's that?
What happens is the leader decides they're the only person allowed to have sex.
Oh, like Jared Leto.
Yeah. I didn't catch that right away, and then you got me. But yeah, it's nearly every, if you look, and I Claude again is the person who got me into watching all this cult stuff. And as a kid, I was obsessed with Jim Jones at the like really young age, and what had happened there. And what you begin to find is
Jonestown, that's some fucked up shit.
But that's cult to the next level. You take Nexium and things like that. It usually lots of hearts and minds and people are broken, but we're not talking about like the electric Kool-Aid acid test, which was a really horrible experience.
Yeah, I had a rapper friend in Toronto, Derek Christoph, goes by Decisive, and Jim Jones really touched him in like inappropriate mind way.
Yeah.
But he made a series of mixtapes called Jonestown Volume 1 through 3 that were really fucking good, very dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's one track on it. It's like, when we die together.
Yeah.
And,
I see it.
With like the red, like the solo cups.
Yeah, the solo cups.
Yeah. Our cult will not be a suicide cult.
There will not be a suicide cult, but also in our cult, we're going to leave the sex alone and everybody can just do their own sexy stuff.
Yeah, everyone should be allowed. There
just
should
your
be
own
no
sexy
thing.
stuff. No, not exclusionary, because it really begins to piss off your followers when, you're the only one sleeping with my wife.
So if anyone is like a fan of Dr. Steve Brule and you saw that episode of Brule's Rules where he's like, wine was made for orgies and orgies are no fun if no one wants to do it with you. Everyone is welcome to do it with everyone at our orgies.
In our cult, I like to think of it a caring, giving cult.
Yeah.
That's there for everyone as long as they pay.
Yeah, it's like taking sharing is caring to a whole new level.
Yeah. You can do whatever you want as long as we make money.
Well, and as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, because we're not hurting anybody. That's no, agreed. There can be no hurting. Well, there can be hurting, but they're consensual.
Well,
hurting.
Of course, no kink shaming. Like
no, nobody like. What are we here for? We're here to talk photography, aren't we?
But it could be a photographic cult.
Photographic cult, because somehow we are stealing images, right? Is that where we're going to start?
Yeah, we could be like the cult of pack film, because there's already a good base set up with that.
Okay, and, pack film.
Yeah, the unicorn tears that I like shooting.
Much. That's right. Because this goes back to where we started, which was me talking about the dangers of digital.
Yes,
I'm only a digital photographer.
But then the other flip of that too, though. So a bit like Scientology for the tax breaks and the money.
Yeah,
but also eyes wide shut.
Oh, a lot of eyes wide shut.
Yeah, a lot of that, especially with the sex stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I'm big on masks. So any kind of mask. And I also like dressing up.
Like schnauzer masks.
Yeah, I love. But aren't those like those are?
No, there's the big nose ones, but then there's the plague masks.
Yeah, the plague mask. Yeah,
plague masks are not allowed at orgies because they're kind of a downer.
Really? You can't wear a plague mask?
Well, I guess if it goes with the outfit.
What if it's a plague orgy?
Ew.
Sorry, bad jokes.
I mean, there could be like a lepers invitational.
Yeah. Okay. As things get dark, but back into this sort of like for
well,
me.
I mean, polio's back, so leprosy could be
Was
like
polio back?
Polio is back
In America?
Yeah.
Like comeback tour?
Yeah. It's like the polio comeback tour. This is what happens when you don't vaccinate. Yeah. Polio comes back. We eradicated it we had a few good decades there. But yeah, polio's back. We got this monkeypox thing now.
Are you going to go to rec and get a little inoculation?
I don't know.
You know? I'm sort of split on a lot of stuff. I want more data.
Yeah.
I also want governments to collect more data.
Yes.
which would be nice. I'd also like citizens to step up and help with that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I'd like to see more collection of data. I try to stay away from the conversations of should you be vaxxed, should you not be vaxxed, and stuff like that, because it can lead to incredible polarizing situations.
You should be vaxxed for polio, though.
I think at birth I was like,
well,
not at birth, but I mean like
they would have got you with it because you're not the generation with like the big puck.
Yeah,
like,
I am.
Oh, you got the one then? Okay.
Yeah, I'm 55, baby. You know, I mean, like they were still circumcising in my day.
42, you know.
I don't know, but did you? 42 has that.
They were still circumcised. I got snipped.
Yeah, just sort of like random.
No, they like
violation.
oversnipped me. It really sucked.
Oversnipped you?
Yeah.
Well, if you'd had a good moil do that for you, it would not have been a problem.
No, I had an angry doctor do it in Calgary because he was pissed because like when I was a baby, I apparently pissed in his face, and so he like refused to do it to me.
But that's commonplace. Babies pee all over you.
Yeah. Well, I guess he just got in his like mouth or something. He was really upset about
listen,
that.
welcome to babies, man.
So I didn't get it until I was like 5.
And so we caught up with you. It finally remembered you.
Yeah, I think he was mean. And I remember the whole thing. It was really fucked up thing. Anyway,
don't you have a court case for that?
No, because my mom was friends with the doctor because she was an RN. So
does not sound like a friendly move.
No, it wasn't a friendly move. It was kind of mean. Don't snip your children. I mean,
I agree.
You're robbing them of the ability to experiment with things like star docking in the future. You know, that's something that I'm never going to be able to do.
My big thing is just more so with that is that when you're dealing with a painful procedure like that outside of the year 500 in a desert where it was probably helpful, you probably want to leave that decision to the individual when they've got cognition.
Exactly.
That's sort of
No,
not that I feel harmed that I don't have it now or that I feel like I should have had that decision. But there are those that feel that way, and I stand by it.
And I mean, depending on what where you're getting it done too, there's like a high risk. There's those like herpes rabbis out there.
Can you ever see that they used Cadillac used to have a whole thing about how the ride was so smooth that even a mohel could do his job? No, I'm serious. Like, it was an actual. You can if you see Art and Copy, one of my favorite movies of all time, they actually show that, right? But that was actually an ad. Our rides are smooth, so smooth.
So that's hilarious because like Cadillac was definitely like shooting for their target market with that one.
Absolutely. Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah,
I'm obsessed with advertisement though. Like I as much as people can talk about the positives and negatives of advertisement, there's no questions in the modern industrial world. We're going back, even as early as the late 1800s. Advertising and commercialism has been part of our life, and understanding its effect, I think, is kind of important. And it obviously has an effect. People are making money. People are doing things. But there are small pockets, of things like Toulouse-Lautrec, and small pockets like in the late 50s and 60s, the post-Mad Men era, where somehow for a small moment, actual art creeped into advertising.
Yeah, there absolutely was. Yeah.
And I'd like to see it again because I have to tell you, I love old, commercials and stuff. Chew it.
Well, I don't think it was just
chew it till you're satisfied. Oh, Henry, chew it.
Well, I don't think it was just advertising that art had steeped into, but like everything. Like you look at architecture from that time too, and like there was just so much more interesting stuff than these like fucking glass palaces we have today. Anyways, introduce yourself for a minute because I don't think we got to that.
I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
My name is Charles Zuckermann. I am a photographer, an actor, a father, a son, a friend. I work with a woman named Zenna Wong, who's an incredible human who was here with you before.
Yeah.
I'm here at the Artist Lodge with you. I have my own opinions of being here, which I absolutely adore being here. I love having a venue. I don't get involved with certain politics because I'm just here to do my job.
Yeah, you just leave that to me.
Well, you need real leaders. I'm a leader. I am not. I am just a voice. I have to say that the time in this space has provided me with a lot of stuff, and I think largely it has to do with very specific things. A space to work in, my own space with Zenna, and then just the two of us. We've watched our work develop. I have got, like yourself, I've got to meet some people I would have never, ever fucking met, like really cool cats doing really cool shit. And some of it, not for mass production, just for themselves. There's some people who are just literally writing songs for themselves in here. And that side of life is important to me, and to be able to see it in these spaces separate from everything else going on outside. And then I think it's also really important for me because my business partner, you spoke with her, and you know her, you're good friends.
Yeah, she's all right.
Yeah, she's all right.
Yeah, kind of grumpy.
Well, 70-year-old Vietnam vet stuck in a 25-year-old lesbian's body.
They took her ankles. And
God, Jesus, swelling. But giving her a place to flourish and grow and meet artists and like-minded people, but also non-like-minded people and people from different areas that she'd never have. You know, in our generations, we didn't have a whole digital world sucking the very life from us from one area. We had to go out and about. That was our entertainment.
Yeah.
And I think on the most part, people were sort of forced to be working with each other and meeting people, whereas you're not seeing as much of that when you have a space with 70 plus artists. You know, a 25-year-old has a world to explore. I think we all do, but at that age, that's the time you want to be doing that shit.
Well, yeah, and she's definitely come out of her shell, because I remember when we first moved into this space at the start of the year, I saw this, like, you know, sort of emo gothy character lurking about in a long trench coat, looking like, you know, very like dramatic and like, no one understands me. I'm going to listen to sad music in my room.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's really like blossomed into a less grumpy person. It's a little more energetic.
Agreed. I think, and a lot of that has to do with the time she spent with you, because for anybody out there now looking straight at the camera, Zenna has lived with me in a digital world. Now she's entering into a celluloid world with you, and you've created a drug that she just can't stop tapping the veins for. But what it's done is it's given us a place of separation within our art, where you can work on this, I can work on that, and then we can bring it back together. And the photo walks that she does with you, I don't think those would be the same with me, because we have so much history and time together. With you, it's a much more fluid and sort of open experience where she's sort of exploring herself. And there is no question in my mind the influence that you've had on her work in particular has truly allowed her to grow, not only as an artist, but also as a human being, where she's just taking more risks. She's met the new honey, who we're all going to get to meet on Sunday. And I think she's just overall taking more risks with her life. And now that we've talked about Zen in the third person, we can...
Yeah, you're making me blush.
No, I think this is my thing again, and it goes back to what I keep on talking about, and it's the central core of me, which is community. And I think that human beings survive best with communities, regardless of the size. And then when we can, within a community, cannot be self-destructive or tear each other down, but we push each other to create better. And sometimes that's not always soft. Sometimes it's a really hard nudge. But when we do those kind of things, that's when everybody gets the payoff. The viewer gets the payoff, the city gets the payoff, the individual gets the payoff. But we need to bring ourselves back to community and understanding that we are not the iPhone by ourselves.
Yeah.
We are a part of a whole. We are singular and part of a whole.
I mean, the iPhone helps to connect. Like, I'm grateful to have like this community I've tapped into through this, but part of what has shaped like how I am to like talk to strangers and things like that, and like the photo walk stuff, and just even my interactions with Zenna was growing up in the Kootenays. I grew up in this small town, Kimberley, just outside of a bigger small town called Cranbrook. I did live in Castlegar for a while, but Cranbrook, aka Dinktown. Spent a lot of time there, and totally cliche thing, but like, punk rock saved my life. Like, I was in a bad place when I was a kid and tapped into the punk rock community in Cranbrook, mainly through this guy named Ferdy Belland, who's like been one of the most amazing influences in my life. He's just like a fantastic guy. But Ferdy introduced me to Jim, and we would like, this was way, because I'm kind of old too. Cell phones were just becoming a bit of a thing, and texting did not exist yet.
Yeah.
I was in my 20s when texting became a thing.
140 characters.
Exactly.
Everyone, right?
Yeah. It was, and I had to like, one phone worked with texting, but the other one didn't. So it's like during the day I'd use a BlackBerry, but then at nighttime, because I didn't want the BlackBerry, I had like a flip phone.
Do you remember when we had pagers, and pagers had like,
Yeah.
it first came with numbers, and then you were able to sort of text for a little while, and then
And you could just like send like a dick emoji to your friend. And make a page.
No, but it was like one of those like ticker tapes that would just come across and sort of send your message, and if you missed it, like, oh, I got to start with the beginning again.
No, I remember that shit. Yeah. But like at Jim, he welcomed everyone to his house.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know where to go or what was going on, you could just go to Jim's house. And
you brought up Jim before, I think, in talks.
Yeah, when we've talked about it, but the kitchen table.
Yeah.
So we'd all sit at the kitchen table at Jim's house, and the kitchen table was like Switzerland kind of thing. Like,
weren't people encouraged to come there even when he was not there?
Yeah, we would like hang out on the porch and wait for him to get there.
So cool.
And then sometimes the house would just be open. So like we just go sit at the kitchen table and wait for whoever to show up. But the thing that was cool about the kitchen table was it didn't matter how old you were. It didn't matter like anything, like, race, religion, sex, like all that. It didn't matter. At the kitchen table, everyone was like the same. And like, we would sometimes sit around and play music, or like have philosophical debates or political debates, or talk about music, or just get drunk, or like whatever.
Smoke weed.
Yeah, well, that's where I learned my love of Pacific Pilsner, which
which is a great beer, by the way.
Oh, this is. So last time when Zenna and I were here, we were talking about Topo Chico, but this time we're going to talk about Pacific Pilsner. Now, I do miss...
It's the artist beer. I honestly believe
it. Well, I mean, like $9 for a 6-pack, you can't beat that.
Yeah, it's a great price. Great. Yeah. If you get it cold enough, it cannot be warm.
No, it has to be cold. But I do miss the old cans. They used to have like the white can
with
the blue nose on it.
Yes, I remember this.
But what makes it delicious is they pull the water out in Prince George, which has a convergence of 3 pulp mills. So like something about
pulp and paper beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Pulp and paper beer.
Yeah, it makes it extra delicious.
There's some protein in pulp and paper, isn't there? Or is there at least like carbohydrate? Carbohydrate, maybe?
Yeah, there's something in there.
Yeah.
But that
I want to go back to the dinner table, though. I really do, because
the kitchen table.
But it's, to me, it's always back to the dinner table, which is those communal gathering tables.
Yeah.
Which, I come from a large family, and so those tables, those kitchen tables, those dinner tables, those are the places where people run in and out of the house. And, there'd be formal moments, and then there would be like raw moments. The moment that one of your siblings just started like screaming at another sibling, and it just sort of broke out. But it's the first sense of socialization and community that we get. And then when we get to do it outside of our own home, and it comes that kitchen table that you went to, it's the development of the new family. It's the development of the new tribe, the new group you're going to be with. And that, I think that's a very critical point in humans' life.
Well, it also enforced because like the age span at the kitchen table was like, teens to like, people in their like 50s and 60s.
Like us now.
Yeah. Like, so looking back in some ways, it could look a little alarming because like, we're underage drinking. I know,
but it shouldn't be alarming.
But no, it shouldn't be, because like, drinking is not an uncommon thing in Europe for like, teens and stuff like that. And they weren't letting any of us get wicked out of control or anything. Like it was really like loving place to be. And
but I think that's part, like, people talk about guiding somebody and helping somebody grow, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't actually have to be active in that way and take somebody down a highway. Sometimes just giving them a safe space to speak and to feel comfortable. Like, I'm sure a lot of who you are today artistically and how you treat people is sort of germinated in that space. It's the
Oh,
first time outside of the
absolutely.
home, right?
Yeah, so like that was a big thing for me because like my in my home life there's a lot of like judgment and things like that. So that's something that I've spent the last few decades trying to unlearn because you don't want to be judgmental of people and stuff. But the kitchen table was like a place where there was no judgment. There was no
Or
such thing as
safe
a stupid
judgment.
idea.
Or safe judgment.
No, there wasn't even really like there was.
I don't like your idea. That never occurred.
Well, that's more like constructive criticism kind of stuff, or like
I love splitting hairs.
yeah, or just like if it was really dumb, people would be
Mhm.
like, "That's fucking stupid." Just like no,
But I
and
think
usually if you elicited that, it was really fucking.
and
stupid.
that's what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
both you're both in these situations. I had similar situations, not quite as communal and as centralized and singular, but a lot of little mini spaces like that. But it's this sort of, you just know you're safe. I think
Yeah.
that's the key space. And once again, one of the big things that I'm hearing a lot right now, and I'm trying to avoid all encompassing words, and I'm not going to mention them because they're going to trigger somebody. Oh, there was one of the words. But but there's a big cry. I want to be heard right now, and especially after
Yeah.
the pandemic and stuff. And I think it's legitimate. I think a lot of people have been sitting isolated. I think people have had a really tough. They want to be heard. But one of the most critical times in your life is this time you're talking about at that kitchen table, which is the first time that you get heard. And then when you sit beside a 55-year-old man at the age of 18 or 16 or whenever it is, and they're listening to you, a validation occurs for
Yeah.
you to say, I am a member of society. I'm not just this little kid. I'm not just this person here.
Well, and not just that you're a member of society, but that like your thoughts, your opinions matter. And
Yes.
I've been really lucky with that. Like, I unfortunately was born in Calgary.
Mhm.
It's not a super proud thing, but that wasn't my choice.
love
It was
Calgary.
just kind of where my parents decided to make me. But we grew up in like we lived.
They
in a bunch-
decided it wasn't it.
Well, so I was like made in the back of a Volvo station wagon, I think in Banff.
And but there was no pre-thought about this. It was just sort of like,
I think there was pre-thought.
Okay,
because
so it was like
I
baking a
was
cake.
technically the third. The two before me didn't make it, but
oh, sorry.
so
So
they
you're
they
the
were trying.
first. You're the first child now, as far as the one who survived.
Yeah, I'm the first one to make it, and then they had two after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in those times, part of life.
Yeah, well, my mom really wanted a girl, and all my dad can make is boys. So, she was disappointed that she ended up with 3 boys.
You're a little girly.
You should meet my brother. Anyways, growing up in Calgary, like we ended up, we lived in a bunch of co-ops, but right before we moved away to Kimberley, we moved to 17th Ave Southwest, like the fancy area
of
there.
Calgary.
And we lived in this like really beautiful old Victorian 2-story that was built by one of the first doctors that moved into Calgary, and kind of a creepy place. Like it was in the family for like all of the generations until we were the first non-familial people to live there. And there's like a whole story behind that anyways. But when we lived it was on 5A Street in Calgary. My best friend on 5A Street was a guy. He was probably about like in his mid to late 60s.
Okay.
His name is James C.
Small age gap there.
Yeah. His name is James C. Short.
Okay.
And he had worked for the Hudson Bay Company as a watchmaker and repair guy his whole life. Retired from working at the Bay. And he had the most fantastical workshop in his basement where he had just like all these old watches and stuff and all these things. But he was my best friend for the longest time. And, now that would be a little weird, like, 5-year-old kid, like hanging out with like a really old man. But my parents never really questioned it too much. His wife.
Nothing happened, no, right?
No.
It was good, innocent fun.
A little bit. Like there was a few times where like, maybe there was a couple times where he was like a bit racist, not towards me, but just like
I'm not
just
talking
like
about the races. I was just talking about any of that no places.
Oh no, there's no places. But
so your first best friend was a racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Grandpa was racist too, so it's like I've been around racism for a while. But the thing that was cool about Mr. Short it was he didn't really care about like the age and stuff. And
Yeah.
like, we would just sit on his back porch and talk about life, which is like a weird thing being like a 5-year-old, like, what do I have to talk about life? But he would just like listen to me asking questions about things, and he would like share his anecdotes and stuff.
Mhm.
And, show
But
me
why, if there's no shitty stuff happening, right? Like the really shitty stuff happening, why, I get the age gap, and people are like, oh, why would he want to hang out? Maybe this is somebody who wanted to make a difference in a singular person's life. Like a lot of people want to do things on a grand scale, but maybe that person wanted to make a difference, and maybe that person also completely enjoyed your company.
No, we enjoyed each other's company.
That's an actual thing that people do. I enjoy company, right?
His wife didn't like it. She was not a fan of me, but like I would do things like,
what do you do?
I'd go over after school and like poke my face in their like mailbox and be like, Mr. Shark, there's no like phones or anything, and she'd be like, oh, it's that kid again, and then he'd be all stoked, and like we'd just like talk about whatever.
I wonder how many like wonderful sexual experiences you destroyed as a 5-year-old. Like when things were just going really well with them. Well, if you hang out with that kid again.
Well, so I don't know if I've
somehow I feel like I'm the interviewer here.
I don't know if I've ruined any of them for Mr. Short and his wife. He's long since passed, and she passed way before him. I definitely ruined a moment.
Check my Instagram quickly. I just realized that I did not turn my phone off.
I definitely ruined a moment with my parents, though. And
that's integral, though.
Well, this was a core memory moment for me, like, because historically I'm a very shitty student. Like, I'm not unintelligent, but I just didn't like school. It just didn't really drive with me. I got my first A ever. This was like grade 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
We lived right across the street from the elementary school. We were in Fort St. John, and I went to CM Finch Elementary School up there, and we were the second.
You do a lot of shout outs. I like that.
Yeah. We were the second house in from the school, and I got my first A, and I was like a solid like D- student up until that first. And so I was like losing my fucking mind. Like, I was running home.
But you were happy about that A, though.
I was really proud of it, because that was my first A ever.
And what was it in again?
I can't fucking remember, because the core memory shifted a little bit away from the A. So,
okay.
What I do remember though was, it was like springtime, so the weather was nice, because Fort St. John really fucking sucks. And I'm running across, just like I haven't even left the school grounds yet. And I'm like, Mom, Dad, and I'm like waving my like A in the air, and like I'm running like home with this, and like I left my brothers there and like ran home before everyone else. And I like tear into the house, like bust the door down. I'm like, Mom, Dad, check it out. And I'm running all around the house, can't fucking find it. They're just and so so I'm like, I go upstairs, I go downstairs, I'm like checking all the things, and I'm just like, where I want to show them my A, because I'm not dumb. And so I get this idea to like check their room, so I kick the door. I'm like, Mom, Dad, and then I caught my dad mid-stroke. He was on the backstroke.
Do they know about this?
We've never talked about it. So this is
so
what happened.
They're not watching this Instagram together.
I don't think they watch my stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I caught it. He was like on the backstroke, and then he like turned around, and he like had this face like, oh fuck, oh shit. And then my mom just kind of like poked out, and we all kind of just looked at each other for a moment, and then I just closed their door.
Oh, so nobody said, get out of here.
No, not a single word has been uttered between us about this. I just closed the door, and I went downstairs, and I turned the TV on, and I just like sat there and I watched TV all night by myself. They had dinner without me, and I could hear them upstairs, and my brother's like, where's Merlin? He's downstairs, just leave him alone. And
is this indicative though of the relationship that you had with your parents, that like a lot of things were not spoken?
That's always like, there's water under the bridge, or like shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that just got deep. Sorry.
No, it's fine. A bit of childhood trauma. It's what makes me. But yeah,
I think it's what makes everybody's childhood trauma. I don't think we'd be the people we are today without the childhood trauma that we experienced.
No, and I'm luckily that's like the worst. Other than like, oh fuck, what was it? Recently,
Merlin, just show me on this doll where he touched you.
Luckily, I've never been touched in bad ways by people unless I wanted it. So, you know,
That is actually one of the blessings of the entire world.
very grateful for that. But I did get a new
Blessings on that.
psychologist recently, and so she's like asking me all these like questions, and one of them was, you know, do you have any like, were you abused as a child? Do you have any
Mhm.
childhood trauma? And I'm like, I grew up in the 80s, like, you know, what do you want me to say?
Obviously there was childhood drama.
And she's like, well, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, sure, I guess, but it's like they weren't like mean about it. It was just that was the time. So
Do you find that, like, for me, I can honestly say I definitely had a lot of childhood trauma. I grew up in a very large home. I had 8 sisters.
holy shit.
Intermarriage, not one
That's fair.
bow-legged woman wondering what happened with her life. Like, it was intermarriage, right?
It's just like babies.
Yeah,
It's like
just
pop.
babies.
She's like, oh fuck, another one. God damn it.
Every sperm is sacred. So there was a lot of trauma in the separation of my parents, the marriage of my father and my stepmother, a home that only had my sister and I, my oldest sister and I, and that suddenly housed not only all of my father's other kids, but also my stepmother's kids. And all of a sudden we went into that. That was traumatic.
Damn.
There's Zenna. I'm a survivor of,
What's up, fucker?
yeah. That's
Hey,
the way to welcome.
friends.
Hi.
Come
Sorry,
on
we
in.
don't have a microphone for you, but you
No,
can come
there's-
sit on the
there's a
couch.
microphone over there.
Oh,
for
there's-
it.
I'm just.
There's a micro.
We were just at a really deep moment
Yeah.
here, so we're gonna go back to the interview here,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
in fact I've been interviewing Merlin the whole time.
No, I think it's been a bit
You know, I
really
know, I'm
even back and
I'm
forth.
having fun.
Yeah.
But
You gotta watch out for your phone there, so Zenna could pop a squat.
Oh, okay, yeah, Papa Squat, and then don't have the phone there.
Get close like you like each other.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
We kind of like each
Or
other.
don't.
Yeah,
Just a little,
that's what nobody can hear you
like
because you're not on
un
the mic.
petite.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back into where we were there just for a second. So there was definitely a lot of trauma there, but I don't feel as if now I'm in later life with all the other things I've experienced that are non-traumatic and all the things that have been good and exciting and wonderful. I don't feel as if my trauma, as hard as it was or wherever I live now, defines me.
Do you feel like that's helped any of your like creative endeavors though? Like, is there
As
aspects
the
of like what,
trauma helped with it?
yeah, like is there
I
like
don't think
things
so.
that you've done like creatively that you feel you might not have if you like, you know, had a more adjusted childhood?
I feel as if not the trauma itself affects it. I think the struggle to overcome the trauma affects my work. I'm very much not like with everything, a survivalist. What's happening here?
But how does that make you feel?
The camera you're holding in your hand, or the trauma?
No, the trauma.
But how does that make you feel, Charles?
But
Makes
yeah.
me feel warm and comfy. I feel like I've been involved for a while. No, I'm a big Zen, and I actually talk a lot about it in our work. Is lean into the error is what we call. An error may be the wrong word, but where things are not strong, and there's an idea that in our trauma, in the things that go wrong, we can actually grow and become strong. And to me, this is the true survivalist of life, is the person who is barraged with the attacks of emotion and then overcomes it and grows as much as they can. I don't think everybody can do it, but I have a real respect for people who have suffered at the hands of other people and the trauma and built something for themselves despite that. So I think that's affected my work, because when the people that I'm really interested in photographing, the people that I'm very interested in meeting through that photographic process are the people who have fought through that. And I don't know, I just have such a respect for it. All humans who are able to do that, and not people who use Polaroid and Instax. I just want to let you know that I have no respect for these people at all. They feel that there should be no editing. There should be no anything. They just want life to be real.
it's about it being honest.
Real.
Yeah, no, it's honest. It's an honest
Be real.
image. Yeah.
Really, really real.
Really real.
Am I eating the microphone enough?
No, you're good.
All of us are.
Yeah. You gotta like get just like
I gotta
No,
get
you're-
back into
you're good.
practice here.
you're doing good.
I think that see, that's what happens with these two. You're just sitting around living your own life, and then all of a sudden it must be recorded now. It's like having
No,
a little
this-
brother who just discovered how to use the iPhone.
But dude, I've been waiting for this to come back.
Oh,
for
okay,
like,
yeah.
For like
How long
8
have you
months.
been without it? The SLR 680?
Yeah, so this is the first 680 that I bought, and this is the legendary one that I thought I'd have to suck a dick for. I didn't.
Would you have?
Think it. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
as long as we
yeah.
know what
Yeah.
the price will be. Oh, wait. I really feel like I'm at the orgy and everybody is taking a piece.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a special camera. I got it in Toronto. At first, I thought I was going to die for it, and then then everything else happened.
I like having the press. I like you have the press tape name there.
Oh,
Like you put it in. What do they
labeling.
call that thing?
The dyno.
The thing?
Dymo. Yeah,
Like they
dymo.
were everywhere. I actually have an old postal unit at my house, which was for mail sorting, and each of the areas of BC are labeled on, and it's beautiful
That's cool.
with this. And I don't know, we just don't have this anymore, this labeling process anymore.
Mhm.
Nobody does anymore, and it just speaks to a very exacting time, which I do believe is very close to the Polaroid time. So it's kind of cool that it
Yeah,
goes together.
it's around like a similar vintage. Like, yeah, this one I've been through a lot with this camera because like I bought it and then it broke, and I sent it off to Brooklyn Film Camera, and that's why I don't like them anymore. Is it took them way too long.
It's
for them
really
to fix it.
easy to hate people who repair cameras.
Well, no, so it's
No,
not,
mostly
This
everybody
is
has
a true
repaired
fact.
my
no,
camera.
no, but
They're
here's the
they're
thing.
sort of like garage mechanics. They're
But no.
they're telling you shit you don't know, and they just want more
It's-
money from you.
Well, it's a double thing. So it's like I sent it to them because they promised they would get it back to me within a certain time frame because I wanted to take
Yeah,
it on
they
a
can't
road
do
trip.
that either. By the way, yeah.
No,
Okay.
it showed up like 2 months after I needed it.
Of course, but this is all the
Um,
story of all camera repairs
So
ever.
that's strike one, but then like strike infinity was what they've done to pack film prices because like they seem to be the ones that find all the estate sales on pack film, and they're why it's like $150 US.
They're like the toilet paper hoarders of the early COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, which this
Yeah.
kind of behavior you should be taken to a small island.
Individually as people, they're all lovely, and like Ben Fraternelli, and in an instant, I've interviewed him before. I love that guy. He's fantastic. He's now a partner there, and so I had like a bit of like a oh my god, but like whatever.
Yeah. Business is business, Merlin.
But I just got this back from my pal in Denton, Texas, Zane Pollard.
Oh, I like that
And,
name.
yeah, Zane's good shit. But
Pollard, Polaroid.
and
Coincidence? I think not.
so he worked on a bunch of them for me, and he customized this one a bit, and then he made me like another.
How did
full
he customize it?
custom.
I like the honeycomb shit. I thought
Clear
that's the
case
flash.
on
Well,
the
so
top.
this is the sonar autofocus. So it's like
Oh,
it sends
that
sonar
was a
beams.
little weird the way you sort of. Did like that.
Yeah. It's like
Oh, it's
it's happy to see you.
Okay.
So he didn't do like a crazy ton to this. He just fixed stuff that Brooklyn Film Camera didn't, and then he put this cool clear housing on. But the one that he went apeshit for me on is this one.
So what you're saying is this person was far better singularly than the repair house.
Yes.
Okay. So proving my point once again, where I started, looking at the camera again. Be very leery of camera repair. I think I think at times it's almost better to go to the manufacturer, but they will also make you wait a long time.
Well, so I did have like Zane, he's a one-man shop. So like it was a very long time. And I was
And you had an in with Zane.
Yeah.
So and it still took you a while.
So
I'm sorry. Can you? I know I'm not the interviewer here, but can you go towards the camera and just show people what happened there, like the
No,
way
they
the
saw
way
it.
it goes flat?
yeah, so
No,
it's just like
it's unbelievable. I feel like you're 00 Merlin, like when you do that.
yeah, the customs guy, when I went to go pick this up in Point Roberts, he's like, "That's not a camera." I'm like, "It is." He's like, "It's not a camera." And I open it up. He's like, "Oh, it's a camera." And I'm like, he was very grumpy with me. But this is the super skookum one that he made for me. So Polaroid never made a black SLR 680.
Okay.
The silver, or sorry, they never made a silver SLR 680.
This is an
The last-
SX70. Okay.
Well, it's an SX70 sonar body, but it has the guts of a 680 put on it.
Is this Pimp My Polaroid?
Yeah, this is super
It
pimp
is.
Polaroid. So he made me a silver one, and then Retrospect makes these cool clear housings. So the black one has the smoked one, and then he put the clear one on this one for me.
Does he digitally print that? Is that how he makes it? Like what?
No, that's just part of the
No, but I'm just saying. You said that he makes the clear housing. Is that just done with a mold?
Retrospect does. So
Oh,
they pay someone to. So he didn't make these. He just put it together for me because like I'm all butterfingers. But the coolest party trick of this guy is not only the color, but on the inside, it has a split prism focus screen, which was only in the manual focus.
Can you explain that to our viewers?
Okay, so when you're doing a manual focus, for those of you who've probably never used a manual focus camera, because everything's like all automatic and you can just like do whatever. Inside of the viewfinder, there's like a little bullseye in the center that the images sometimes split. And so like the split prism, to get focus, you want the image to match right in the center.
Okay. And so that's what you're searching through when you're adjusting, or it does it itself?
Well, so when it's in auto mode, this one, there's no battery on this right now.
Yeah.
But when it's in auto mode, it'll just hunt on its own, but you can flick it into manual mode and you can do manual focus, and you can see that in there. The autofocus Polaroids didn't have the split prism focus screen because they were like, well, it's autofocus. You don't need it. So that was like the coolest thing he threw in there for me. And then this is the one that I was like most impatient to get. This is a Sonar SX70, but it's heavily modified. So this one has
Pimp My Polaroid.
Yes, Pimp My Polaroid. This one has an open SX70 control board in it. So just behind the lens board here is
Can you explain that for our viewers?
Okay, so
Only for our viewers.
So these cameras originally had a PCB made by Polaroid, which was like a Texas Instruments and like some other ones in there. And then a company called Mint, which Zenna bought their RF70 recently.
Yeah, I hate money.
Mint
or no, maybe you love money so much you think other people should have it.
Yes, I love it so much. I want to just give it all away.
So anybody out there who wants some of Zenna's money, you can call her at 555-5555.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
And she has a lot of it.
Well, I have to talk to Zane about the Open SX70 because it looks like it's overexposing. But the Open SX70 has a custom control board in it. And
a wick, it seems.
Well, so this is for doing firmware updates to it.
Okay.
Plug in a thing and you can update the software in it because it runs a little Arduino board inside.
Ooh, Arduino.
Yeah. So it's like a completely hackable camera kind of thing. And then it also somewhat like the Mint SLR 670, which is like a fancy SX70 you can buy that has like, they call it the time machine. This has a little dongle thing that you put into the flash bar.
Dongle.
And you can control manual focus. You can plug it into Flash for doing studio Flash and stuff. And so, I want to experiment with this because I might use it this weekend for doing portraits during the open studios.
Oh, the picture that was used for this 100th episode was shot at that portrait time before.
It was. Yeah.
So I'm coming back for another portrait. Guaranteed.
I might have 8x10 Polaroid at that one.
8x10 Polaroid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants to spend the $50 that it takes for your headshot to be done in an 8x10 Polaroid, please come down here to Merlin's studio here at the City Center Artist Lodge. What is your studio number?
I'm not going to put it publicly, but just message me.
It's
on
555-5555. That's the old Hollywood number.
The moment of panic.
I really want to tell our viewers out there, the people that are watching, that this 100th episode, it turns out, was actually Merlin's interview, and I'm loving it because I'm learning so much about Merlin's interview. I've become the interviewer, and Zenna's become my Ed McMahon, just going, pearl earrings.
Dongle.
Oh, I totally forgot. I thought I had 2 boxes, but I only have 1. So I've got 10 black and white shots of 8x10 Polaroid.
Okay.
So I wish a beverage.
Can she have a beverage? Do you want White Claw?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I'm acting like this is my studio now. Yeah, I think I'm going to need another one of those as well.
Dig in.
This is actually the longest. I just want to let you know. I am jonesing for a cigarette, but I'm going to sit here. I'm going to stay here with everybody. I just want to go back to a couple of the places that we've I guess haunted before or been for in this conversation. Merlin is without a doubt in the city center artist lodge. He's sort of like a central figure in the sense that he's always got an ear or time for certain people to just sort of come along and say their say and speak their speak. You're welcoming. You're incredibly what we were talking about before. You're one of those people that gives people a safe space. Zen and I are two completely different human beings.
Really?
Both of us.
I didn't notice.
Oh, that's good.
I
Let's
thought
get
you were
let's hit the
both
humor.
cut from the same cloth.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
twins, 30 years apart.
Twinsies.
Twins, 30 years apart. But you give us the same time, the same space. And I got this. Do you know the actor Michael Ironside? Canadian actor, been around.
Oh, I
was in
fucking love
Starship
Michael
Troopers.
Ironside. Yeah.
I got
Starship Troopers. Yeah.
I got to work with him in one of my first gigs in Vancouver, which was Outer Limits.
Ooh, I love
and-
the Outer Limits.
The Outer Limits, and we were in the very last episode of that reincarnation of it. I think that it's had a couple since and a couple before.
Yeah, because that was like they rebooted
Yes.
the old shit.
That one rebooted. It's all right. Nobody cares about what's going on outside.
No, I was just like,
yeah.
it's kinda
And
wild.
so I ended up I was wearing a full cowl makeup. If anybody out there knows what full cowl makeup, it means that your whole face and your body is covered. And the two things that struck me about this human being were it did not matter whether he was speaking to an extra, the script supervisor, or he was speaking to the director or even me, his tone never changed. And I've noticed that in human beings, this is a very, very rare thing. You know, like when you're on the phone with your significant other and you're like, oh, yeah, babe. And your tone goes up and down. No change of tone. And this is something that I've noticed in you. And it's something that I honestly believe when you meet human beings who don't change their tone and don't reinvent themselves, which I think most of us end up doing. This is one of the unicorn situations in this world. And so for me, in spending time with you, in getting to share your space with you, this has been one of the greatest privileges, is to watch you with other humans and just sort of give people that time, give people that space. But more importantly, just to give them the respect to not like placate them and not change your tone and just be you.
Well, so going back to the trauma discussion, that comes from trauma. So, like, I've had a lot of shit experiences with people over the years, and have not been treated well by a lot of different people, and I didn't appreciate how that felt. So, I make an effort to, treat people decently.
But that's part of the survival thing that I was talking about after you said, like, did you just like, are you led by your trauma? I'm led by watching how, not only how I do it, but also more importantly, how other people do it. What are your survival techniques? What do you do to not pass on the trauma? And I think that we don't talk enough about what we can do to not pass off trauma. We talk about how we can better ourselves, self-help, but how can you benefit yourself at the same time as not repeating the cycles and passing on up? And what you do where you live is like, I'm going to rib, I'm going to do all these things, but I'm not leaving you with any of my manure, right? Like from my past.
No, because that's not a nice feeling. You don't want to like dump that on, and I have to thank years of therapy to help with that, because it's
go get therapy, kids.
Therapy is important.
I agree, 100%. I've had years of therapy.
Yeah, no, it's and you get what you pay for with therapy. So it's like access whatever you can, but if you have the means to spend more, do that, because you're worth the investment. And also, like, when you pay for a better therapist, you get better help. Like,
but I think therapists are also like medication and garage mechanics. You got to have a connection with them. You've got to. It is important that they know what they're talking about. No questions asked. But you're not looking for a placater. But just looking for somebody where there's this certain connection. Because I got to tell you, there have been people who've been able to bring stuff out of me, and it's not just been because of their education. they just know how to speak.
Yeah, that's
And you
an
should
important
test,
thing
and you should
too,
go to different
'cause
therapists. Can you do like just sort of like a drive-by with a therapist where you can just go and check out like, oh, I just want to see if we're going to be fit. Can you do that?
sometimes, like what I did when I found my therapist in Toronto that was really fantastic was I looked for companies that had like in-depth bios on the people there.
Oh, so you did
And
research.
yeah, because like I look at therapy as like relationships.
Mhm.
Like, you know, when you're dating, like you want to find someone that's going to be compatible with you, that, you know, will jive with you know, what like the kind of person you are. And even then, like I've run into some stuff. Like my one therapist that was really good in Toronto. We had a little bit of beef because I guess on my like
You had
second,
beef with your therapist?
well, she had beef with me, which I kind of like blew off
You
a
had
little
no
bit.
beef with her?
No, I had no beef with her.
Okay.
But I had like, I think it was my second or third session with her, and I had a really shit day at work. Like I was just a fucking grumpy puss. And so I was like not really in a receptive headspace. And she had made a comment that I found really dismissive, and I was like, I don't know. I said something to the effect of like, I don't know, I don't give a shit. Like just fucking, you can take my money and just like listen to me like, you know, bitch and moan or whatever, and that's fine. And I didn't pay any mind to it, but then it was like my 6th or 7th session with her. She'd been kind of like those sessions leading up to that, she was a little saltier with me. And she brought it up. She's like, you know, you said something a few sessions ago that was
But you're
like,
not in a relationship together.
that really bothered me. And I was like, oh, what's that? And you know, it was like the take my money thing. And I was like, I appreciate you sharing that with me, but also like I don't pay you to be upset.
You're not paying. Listen. I've been to a lot of therapy. I've been to psychologists. Part of going to those tender spaces, causes knee-jerk reactions emotionally to occur.
Mhm.
And so sometimes, as long as it's not, we're not talking about violence,
No, I'm not
or
violent,
fear. I know,
but like,
but it's a therapist's job is to experience that, not take it personally.
yeah.
Understand that that's part of it, and then when you bringing it back up, well, then I'm going to need 25% off this visit because now we're dealing with your shit, right? Where couldn't you just go to your own therapist to talk about the stuff that we're doing here?
Yeah.
It just,
That's
it's a focus on others that's bothering me right now.
It's an interesting thing with that because like when I was married, my ex-wife and I went to a marriage counselor in Prince George. And this is one of those like you get what you pay for moments. So this was a marriage counselor through my like employee benefits or whatever. So it was a free counselor, and this guy looked like straight up like fucking King of Queens, like Kevin James, like Paul Blart, fucking guy.
Which we don't judge.
Yeah, we don't judge, but you know, a big conversation topic when you're married is sexual relations, lack thereof, like whatever. And so we get into like the regular arguments we get into is like, you know, a married couple. And then we like touch on some intimacy stuff. And he's like, whoa. Hey, nope. Time out. Nope. And he was just like, we don't talk about that. And I'm like, what the fuck do you talk about then? Like, you're a goddamn marriage counselor.
Can I ask you a question? Was he a part-time ref?
He could have been.
Was he wearing the black and white striped jersey? Okay, guys, time out right now.
No, he was like,
no, we're not going to talk about your sex life. That's your fucking problem.
He's like khakis and a polo shirt kind of guy. Like, yeah, he could have been a ref. He looked very like refish.
No, but when you're talking about the Kevin James sort of look,
but then we had to like fucking. We ended up having to like counsel him because he got all like triggered by like, you know, sex talk, and then we spent the rest of the session like calming him down.
There's that word again.
Yeah. And so I phoned EAP and I was like, yeah, that last session doesn't fucking count. I get one more back because this guy
As
sucked.
you should.
We ended up having to counsel him. And they're like, oh, what happened? I explained it. They're like, oh, sorry about that. Yeah, you get one more credit. I'm like, yeah, fuck rights, I do. Anyways.
Well, moving on, because you did something right there, which was bringing the word trigger in. And Zenna and I have been talking about triggering.
Oh,
yes. Wait, just a sec, though. David Hunter says Mike Ironside was amazing in Scanners, which I have to
agreed 100%. I actually, you know, before I go into the word trigger, I want to go back to the Michael Ironside conversation. This is what a mensch Michael Ironside was.
I would almost say even a supermensch.
He was a supermensch, no questions asked.
Yep.
We're sitting down there. It's the last episode. It's sort of it's sort of the mix of a country western alien thing going on, which I do would later become the premise of a movie, which is Cowboys versus Aliens. I don't think they're interlinked, but it was the same sort of premise. And I'm dressed in this full cowl I was mentioning before. It's cowl makeup, which means that there's no part of the upper part of your body where your skin is breathing anymore because it's just covered with prosthetic makeup.
That sounds uncomfortable.
I used to specialize in that, and I actually didn't have a super problem with it. It just when it's really hot, it was really hot that day. And so we shot for about 4 days. My good friend Jerry South, who I'm going to give a shout out, was on that as well, playing another one of the aliens. And at this point, there was a thing within the union that was called special abilities, which means that you got paid slightly more, quite a bit more than a background performer, right? You weren't quite silent on camera, blah, 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 blah. And so I'm sitting down there. We're doing the whole thing. We come to the last day, and it's in a massive hut. And Michael Ironside is coming to this crescendo of his character and stuff. And the aliens are interacting, but nobody's saying anything. And I've been hanging with this guy, just like sitting and chatting and, you know, quintessential Canadian, right? She's taking pictures of her. I'm actually telling a warm, heartwarming story, and you are taking pictures of your microphone. Okay.
Zenna's like, whatever. I hear Charles talk all the time.
Yes, exactly.
I've got tons of Charles stories.
Yeah. Please dial 1-800 go fuck yourself, and Zenna will share those stories with you. And so we're just at this point, and all of a sudden Michael Ironside says, this doesn't feel right. I feel like one of the aliens would come over and say something to me here. And he points directly at me and he goes, Charles, you come over here and say something. There's a director, a producer there. And he's like, let's play this out. And then all of a sudden, the producers and directors wanting to make Michael happy. We're like, yeah, okay, bring that alien in and he'll say something. The minute I opened up my mouth, that brought me from $250 a day to $600, $650 a day. And I had to be done retroactive to all of the days I was there.
Oh, shit.
And I just look over as we finish the scene, and Michael Ironside, who's being pulled away because, you know, he's the star at this point, and he just looks back at me and he just gives me a little wink. And I was like, dude, you just threw money my way at a time when, you know, I was truly a starving artist. And I just thought, here's this guy. He's here working. He's doing his thing. But he still had a moment to make sure that somebody else got a payoff and that somebody else was taken care of. So I've had a certain respect for Michael Ironside my entire career. Not only do I love him, not only is he Canadian, which I also love, he was also a cable layer. That's where he started. He was laying cable for the movie industry, and he worked his way up. He's literally one of those guys who worked his way up. So who was it who said that comment? Yes, Michael Ironside is a fucking cool dude.
He is a cool dude.
How many viewers do we have right now, by the way? 6, 8?
I don't know. Sometimes it's not very accurate. Like it was 8 earlier. It's 6 now.
That was pretty dead on.
So far, no one in YouTube, but this also goes to podcast after.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I don't care. I'm here to hang. I just wanted to know.
Well, that's the thing too. I don't really care about like the amount of people I don't get upset about that because like, you know, it's about the experience of like getting to know another human and spending that time. And, you know, sometimes there's that vulnerability in the mix there, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually dying for a cigarette. So I think that we've listened to me for a bit of time here. Can I leave you and Z Wong for a second? Just go quickly have a cigarette and come back?
Yeah.
Because I'd like to keep this. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really fucking enjoying myself.
Well, I still need to know like how you got into photography. We haven't touched that yet.
Okay. Yeah. We haven't talked about my photography as much. And you know what? It's really funny because I was actually talking to some really good friends, and a lot of my friends are in different industries, right? Uh-huh. And one thing that when you're in either the waitering industry or the film industry, you tend to talk about your work a lot.
Yeah.
So it quite gratuitously, fellow actors and people who work in the restaurant business will tell you about their shifts and their work. But I've noticed that's not a thing photographers do much. We don't finish our day of work, head home, and then have like our conversations about the day. We usually just do it. We go home, and most of the people that I talk to in this industry seem to have that same feeling. I think it's also because you do a lot of it alone sometimes.
Yeah.
Zen and I don't have.
Well, but then there's also the gear talk time and stuff. Some people
Gear
really
talk
love the
time,
Gear talk
I
times.
try to leave when there's no other people around. Having lived through the restaurant business and the film industry, I'm now realizing how many people listen to me talk about that shit. I try to, as soon as it gets sort of gear talky, sometimes I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I was sitting with Craig Barker, another one of our friends. Shout
Craig
out
Bacca.
Craig Bacca. And I was at a party and we started talking gear, and I think we were maliciously talking gear because the party had got so boring and so terrible that we just sort of monopolized the entire party talking gear talk.
There's been a few times I've been hanging out at Henry's house, and Henry loves talking about gear. But his wife Jeannie, she's an artist as well, but like as soon as the camera stuff, she's like, fucking camera stuff, and he just like kind of shuffles out, which sometimes bums me out because like she's a very interesting person, so I like when she hangs out and like shares her stories and stuff. But like gear talk just makes her like disappear almost immediately.
Like, gear talk is essential. It's just I think there's a time and a place for it. Yeah. That's just me. I can't speak for anybody else. I will go before we go to the cigarette because I can't hold my life for cool smoker in a minute, but I can hold my life for it. I do want to talk very quickly about where I started with photography. Okay. Because I started.
But I didn't ask you about that. So Charles, tell me about what got you into photography.
Well, Merlin. So when I think about photography, I touch myself.
There's no judgment here.
Yeah, no. I started early.
Masturbation is very important and healthy.
Yes, I highly encourage it.
Yeah,
I highly encourage it.
Anyways, so
great segue.
You started photography,
the art of masturbation. Years and years ago, I started my photographic journey. I was going to Dawson College, and I decided I was going to go and take photography course because I wanted to be a filmmaker and an actor. This is back in Montreal. I thought for some reason, I don't know why, I thought taking a photography class would help me with that.
No, it's important though, because like you
composition.
look at Kubrick.
Yep.
One of the where you got it.
Yeah, and so I went there. I wanted to understand composition, but it became quite apparent quite quickly that my problem with the whole process was I would get searing headaches in the lab.
Oh, you didn't like the chemicals?
The chemicals in the lab would make me violently ill. So I couldn't, and I'm even now such a control freak with my work. The fact that I could only take the picture and not manipulate it afterwards in the lab really bothered me. And everything from manipulating the actual process of
doing all the
processing the film, but also the Ansel Adams stuff. Yeah. It just sort of took a little bit of the wind out of my sails. So then I leave photography completely behind. I go and I pursue a communications degree, a social sciences degree, and a theater degree. I decide that the place I'm going to land is I'm going to be an actor. I moved to Vancouver. I met a beautiful girl, moved out here with her, and then she found the woman of her dreams.
An actor?
She was not an actress. She was a singer. I was an actor. Yes, very much an actor. So I come out here, I pursue my dreams, and I do have a reasonable amount of luck, but at the same time, I have to be a father and a waiter just to pay the bills.
Hey, Zenna, Sarah's watching.
Sarah's watching.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. We're looking forward to your arrival soon.
Very much so.
One of us.
One of us wants that arrival more than the other. What?
Yeah, one of us. One of us. Zenna missed it at the start. We were talking about starting a cult.
Yes, we are.
Oh wait, am I going to be the head of the cult?
No,
I wanted you to be the head, but
who's going to be the head of the cult?
Claude.
Thank you,
Claude Duhamel.
Proving that we actually did have this conversation before. So back to the journey of becoming a photographer, which will be a long journey. No, it's going to be very short from here.
Yeah, you're nicking out.
I finish the degrees. I move out here, become an actor. My girlfriend finds the woman of her dreams. I stay here. I meet my ex-wife. We have a child. Still pursuing acting, and then acting in restaurant business. And then I found that I really, really wasn't enjoying the restaurant business anymore. And so I was lucky enough to be in the right environment where my boss took me and pushed me into the marketing department of the restaurant because it was a large corporation. I'm not going to mention them because I do not want to give them press. And I ended up becoming part of the digital marketing world as in its naissance, as Facebook was just coming out, right?
Okay.
And it was, I gotta be honest, the way it was used as a tool early on, it caught on like wildfire. We were in the world of Yelp and everything, and it was going really great. And I ended up leaving that company, starting my own digital marketing company. Did that for 2.5 years. It was very successful, but however, didn't take on any partners, so that when we got hit really hard with 2 of our clients not paying us, the business was raped of money. Removed of money. Hard word. Sorry, we won't use that word again. That totally dropped our viewership to 1.
No, people are still there.
I was like, it took all the money out of our sales, but I had been creating all the digital content at the time because I had a little Nikon that I was using to create it. And I realized I really liked photography again. And so at one point I looked at the pictures I was taking. I was looking at the job I was doing. I wasn't left with any money. And I said, why am I doing this digital marketing where I'm monitoring 25 people's social media at a time? I really hate this thing.
Because you got to pay rent.
Yeah. But then I discovered the photography. I could do that with the photography. And then I realized that was the thing that I actually really liked. I actually enjoyed what I liked the most about doing that job was doing the photography and creating the content for it. So then I go from there to becoming an event photographer, which I think is one of the greatest spaces for anybody, wedding or event photography, because you constantly have to deal with adjustment on the move, and you have to get faster and faster at it. And then I had the chance to work with an absolutely incredible human who changed my whole world and made me really want to be a photographer, Mark Andrew.
Okay.
And Mark Andrew is a much beloved person in Vancouver for many years. He now lives in Mexico. And I would watch him where he would be sitting talking to you, having a drink while he's doing an event thing. And then he'd see somebody in the corner of his eye walk by, and he would literally change the settings on his camera without even looking at them, knowing exactly where they were, and then click. And I'm just watching him understand his craft so well in the area that he sat was so impressive to me. I said, I want to be that good where I'm not looking at anymore.
Yeah.
And so from there, I did the event stuff. I was invited into the studio by 2 amazing photographers, Daniel J. Collins and Billy Athenseo, when literally 20 photographers I asked to assist with wouldn't take me on because they were afraid with my age. I was in my 40s that I would steal work. These 2 photographers came to my studio and trained me how to do photography, and with no longer speed lights but strobes. They gave me the time that nobody else would give me. And just as that is occurring, I go to a nude art show, and
Oh yes.
yeah, and there at this thing that neither Zenna and I had any time or care for, arrived Zenna. And I
wait, sorry, you guys met at a nude event?
A nude art show. We were not
Fine
nude.
art nudes.
Fine art nudes. We were not nude. Sorry, we were not. Excuse my communication error there.
No, that's fine.
Fully clothed.
Fully clothed, watching nude pictures, and from that moment, Zenna can probably tell the story better than me after that. But from that moment on, the real photographic journey occurred. I'd been doing a lot of that because we're now at 4 years together. That's putting me roughly at about 10 years before she came along when I was doing stuff. There is no questions asked that every exploration that has been about searching for art and searching for the voices that either of us want, all that started at that Fine Art Nude show.
Yes.
Yeah. And you love the Fine Art Nudes, don't you?
I mean, maybe I'll dabble a little bit more now.
Oh, you've grown.
Oh my.
Potentially. I don't
And she's
know.
grown.
Maybe we'll give it a try here and there. I don't know.
What about less fine art nude?
Less fine?
Quasi fine part.
quasi,
Quasi.
like
Quasi
rough,
fine.
rough art nude,
yes. Abrasive art nude.
abrasive art nude.
I don't know.
Huh.
Is that a thing?
It could be.
Could we start it with our call?
Yeah, I mean, there probably exists in like the kink world.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And
probably.
of our cult, this is what as I leave to go have my cigarette, seeing as the two of you are going to run it, you guys are going to be the brains behind this.
Wait,
organization.
I didn't get the breakdown of how this cult is running.
No, it's similar to the
when
one that we
include
talked about.
Merlin here.
No, so we talked a bit about like, mostly we want tax breaks
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
and orgies.
Okay, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
just less control of the sex by the leader.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
no Jared Leto stuff.
Yeah, no Jared Leto stuff.
Yeah,
No, yeah.
No.
no.
Gotcha.
Okay. So what?
And like no like Jesus looks.
Ooh,
let's-
that's going to be a
let's-
problem for us.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
that is
our leader has
he
a bit
does
of.
have
He
a
looks
serious
like
Jesus look.
if Jesus had sex with Grizzly Adams.
Oh.
Grizzly Jesus.
So
Will that work?
We
Grizzly
were
Jesus?
so we were talking about this.
And this is not gonna get me in trouble with the
Lele
religious people,
Studio
is it?
recently, and there was a couple things we came up with about like God and Jesus when we were over at Lele Studio, and one of them was Jesus is trans
Oh,
because Immaculate Conception. There's no X chromosome, so he's double Y. So
okay, that's interesting.
okay.
he would have been born a woman. So that means that since he took on a he persona,
uh-huh.
that would make him a he. him.
Could Jesus have been non-binary?
I mean, that's entirely possible as well too. So like that, either trans or non-binary. That could go with that.
Yeah, did anyone even ask Jesus what his pronouns were, or did they just assume?
I think they
At
just
that
assumed,
time
yeah.
it was a lot of assumption. I think it was all
But
assumption at that time.
Then we also came to the conclusion that God is an old white man.
God, no,
Yes, yeah, God.
all gods, or just the God of
the like Christian.
Christian.
Catholic
Well,
God.
he's definitely if he has.
Yeah, but how we came to that conclusion was the whole Mary thing, pretty rapey.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
not even invited.
No. It's just like, hey, like,
No, but that's very
boom.
That's a little rip off
Maybe
from
in
the
there.
Greek gods, though. They were kind of rapey.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
the
But-
whole experience of Christianity is
Rapey?
horrific
Yeah.
and rapey and horrible. If you look at any of the history of it, individual Christians fucking love them.
yeah.
Love them. People who are wholehearted, want to give and commune. But I'm with George Carlin. Like he just can't. He's just not good with money.
No.
Just not good. Do everything. Just not good with money.
Oh, Gavin says that he'd model for your fine art nudes.
Oh, I've already got my first model. Dude,
Yeah.
you haven't even seen any of my work
He
yet.
has a wonderful beard, and I think he would look really great.
I think this is a place to start, Zenna.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So next time you're out east, you just swing by on Ottawa.
Gavin,
And,
can you go to Zenna's Instagram at ZennaWong.com
if you go
and send a
to
message?
ZennaLovesNudes.ca,
Yeah.
you can.
Just send her a request, and when we're back east, she'll shoot your nudes, man.
Yeah, exactly. This is the one
She's gotta
time
start
where like
somewhere.
sending a dick pic is fully acceptable because she needs to know what she's working with.
Yeah.
Would you
It's
prefer
pre-pro?
surprise?
It's pre-pro question mark.
Pre-production?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pre-pro.
Is this part of the mood board or what?
He
I guess
says,
it would be okay if it was like a whole bunch of angles, right? So-
Gavin says here, look up George Carlin voiceover of Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh my god.
No, okay, so I got one better. I got to play this shit before you go.
I am the largest George Carlin fan in my circle. I can't speak.
I love when people fuck with the Thomas the Tank Engine shit though because it's so good. But I'll just play this.
You know,
just a
he
sec.
loved doing that shit. Loved it, Carlin. I know, because I called him personally, asked about it. No, that never happened.
At least you would admit it.
So I'm like completely addicted to this like ridiculous mashup. It's called Thomas the Dank Engine.
Oh my.
Not stank, but dank. I like it. God. It's funny because Josh my son was obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine. Much time at Granville Island buying those little tiny like wood things, and they cost fucking mint.
Dude,
PBS, how much money are you making?
the Thomas the Tank Engine theme song,
Yeah,
it hits way harder than it should. Like, this is fucking solid, right?
no, this is. I would, if you didn't know. Can you go? One of my favorites is if you ever have a chance. I'm Elmo and I know it. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, that's his
I'm
favorite.
Elmo and I know it. Know it.
That's-
Elmo and I know it. I make art.
Yeah,
You really,
yeah.
if you can find the link and put it in the YouTube info space, Elmo and I know it will change your life.
Nice.
Kids, look at these crayons.
Just look at these crayons.
I make art.
Just look at these crayons. Oh no. And it's like full Elmo in like sort of a repeater loop, just doing this.
Oh, I love that kind of shit.
Yeah, no, it's just sick.
This is.
I play it myself.
It's stuff like this that makes me appreciate the internet. You know.
But see, this is what I'm with you. I love this part of the internet. I'm not so hip with the hear my angry philosophies part of the internet, and I'm not so hip with the let's all just sit at home and not do anything part of the internet. If the internet gets you out and gets you involved, gets you creative, and I guess that's you got to take both the evils from each side. Some people know how to use headphones, and some people don't.
Yeah.
Listen here, I'm just trying to take this camera off my body so I can take this blazer off my body.
This is very similar to the junkie situation I was telling you about. She just can't let go of the Insta-X camera.
You're such a junkie.
Well,
I'm sweating in this full sunlight right now.
Junkie to junkie right here.
Oh, that's fair.
You are.
You're giving like mad Beetlejuice vibes today, though.
Yeah. Okay, So this is where I was gonna leave before. Okay, before when I go have my cigarette, the two of you, in my absence, must start a conversation about what we're gonna call this cult.
The Midnight Society.
Well, no debate with Zenna. Maybe Zenna has to say. I don't know.
I have no say.
Because I can because I talked about this on my chat with oh fuck, why can't I remember their name?
How about the 10 minutes to midnight society?
10 minutes to midnight. What
just
the Ministry of Strange Love.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot more. I like the idea that there's a ministry.
Yeah,
it's so British.
Because it works both ways though, because like ministry is a church, but also like ministry is like an administrative arm.
Yes, exactly. The ministry of my pinky.
And there's a lot of so as part of it being a ministry now, we have to have a lot of administrative red tape. Like you have to go through like a ridiculous amount of paperwork.
Why don't we just call it the ministry?
Nah.
Just the ministry. We administer administry. I don't know.
We administer orgies.
We administer everything.
Yeah.
We're a ministry.
Or we could just call it the administration.
I like your double entendre with the ministry, though.
Yeah.
I really like that. So I don't know. I'm going to leave these thoughts to you. Maybe you guys will talk about Instax and Polaroid.
People in the chat here. Let's give us some ideas about cult names.
Audience, help us name our sex cult.
Well, it's not just a sex cult; it's also tax breaks. You know,
our tax breaking sex cult.
I turned you.
I also just want to say before I go for my cigarette, I didn't realize until hearing you on the headphones, you should have your own podcast. She's got a great voice. People out there tell me if I'm no, just your regular voice.
Just my regular voice.
Yeah, I think that it's a great radio voice. And
is it really?
You've kind of got like a Janine Garofalo, Elliot Page thing kind of going on there.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
In
lesbian trucker lesbians.
Mini Driver from Grosse Pointe Blank.
Mini Driver.
Yeah.
Mimi Driver.
No, it's Mini Driver.
Mini Driver? I don't even know what that is.
It's because you're a fucking child.
I'm a child, guys.
You are a child.
Help me.
Because this is what happened last time. She didn't get any of my references because she's too young. Yeah.
I need. Oh, do we have?
Oh, it's the fucking VMF shit again.
Whoops-a-doodles.
Whoops-a-doodles. Colonizers. Anyways. No comments from the
No,
crowd.
no suggestions
No
whatsoever
suggestions.
about
This is
what to name our sex/tax break cult.
Yeah, exactly.
Like not a single one.
It's like Scientology, but like sexier.
Casey, please help us name our sex cult.
Yeah, come on.
Come on, there's got to be some in there.
Why is who's yelling? Oh, it's like
What is that?
like indoctrinating everyone with whatever the fuck they're doing this weekend.
I noticed, by the way, you have actual Instax film and a printer over there. This is like blasphemous.
No, it's not blasphemous. I love all instant film.
Equally.
And the printer is actually the coolest shit ever.
Yeah,
wild story with the two. I just bought that from Bo Photo the other
Okay.
weekend, and I hit the reprint button, and a very spicy photo shot out of it.
Oh, it
Yeah.
has memory?
Yeah. It'll like there's a reprint button on it, and it'll print the last photo that was in that someone printed.
Oh my
And
gosh, tell
the-
me about this reprint.
I mean, it wasn't unpleasant, but it was a bit of a surprise. Like when I just had to, because I'm like trying to figure this thing out. I thought it worked on Bluetooth. I didn't realize it worked on Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a bunch of fuckery trying to get it to work, but I pushed the reprint button and then just boobs came out of it. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah. And you know, they're very lovely. And I feel weird like seeing a stranger's boobs without like giving them credit or like money or like whatever. Like, you know, it just feels odd that like it looks like someone was like making spicy content or something.
Mhm.
And you know, so word to the wise for everyone out there, when you're selling your electronic goods and stuff,
Yes.
you know, make sure to wipe it or like whatever, because you know, weird bearded men could end up with your boobs.
Or if you're not wiping it, just make sure that the last shot was your best shot.
Yeah, or like, you know, if you have like a stray dick pic or whatever, just throw that in there. So it's just like, you know, alarming.
I feel though like the boob shot would be generally less offensive / just like more pleasant to stumble upon.
That guy fucking bogarted my beer.
What do you mean?
Charles took my beer.
He
Fucking guy.
he tends to do that sometimes. I like to take a Sharpie and write our initials on our drinks so that everyone knows whose is whose.
That's fair. So what are your thoughts? Sex cult names.
What are my
Come on.
thoughts? I don't have any, man. Like genuinely. Here, we want another beer?
I'll drink some water. I can be responsible and
Oh, look
hydrated.
at you. Hydration is key.
Hydration is key. You know, for everyone listening out there, make sure to you know, drink some water. We're just like plants, except we're rotting bags of meat. Oh, and where is it? Gavin says also, when you're buying custom instant shots, you're getting a reprint from a digital printer. That's true. So this is a bit of a spicy debate because I saw someone you know, because there's that whole argument around the whole like that Grainery app. I don't know if you've
I
looked
have
at
not
that.
joined it yet, but I have seen other people.
Yeah,
join it.
there's like a touch of controversy around it because it's all like film only, and someone's like, well, if you're like sharing digital copies of your like film photos, it's not really film anymore. You know, it's kind of like, you know, something else. And I don't disagree with them because, you know, that's there's a lot of like snobby film photographers out there that just like scan their shit and just share it only on digital. And you know,
You're missing a whole world of it.
I don't give a shit about
There's
that
a lot
world.
of yelling happening out there.
I went to go buy booze, but I realized I left all my cards and everything home.
Oh, that's a shit. Well, you don't want to like they didn't give us free booze things this time.
No, there's no free booze this time.
No.
We do, however, have
Oh, the tenant passes.
slipped underneath our door cracks.
What was that?
Tenant passes for the VMF
What-
Summer Festival.
You're sitting on your thing.
What does that do, the tenant pass?
Valid through
It
August
allows
4th.
us. It allows us to come
To
into
August
the places
14th.
that we pay fucking money for. You know, That's
awesome.
yeah, right. They're giving us permission to come to our own spaces.
I think what they're doing is they're allowing us to have a card or something that will let the people that don't know we're here know that we belong here.
Sure.
I think that's what they may be doing, because
Yeah.
VMF can't be everywhere all the time. So
No, they're
the
not
people
God.
down below, they created for the people working on the ground, they created a way for them to recognize us so that we can walk freely amongst
That's so
the
thoughtful.
people.
That's so thoughtful of them.
All access pass.
No, it's a somewhat
Is
access
this-
pass.
Does it say somewhat access on it? Do you have a Sharpie so I can write
Well,
that on
it was just
Can you
like-
write that on there for me, somewhat access?
It was just like before when the VIP night, we weren't actually the VIPs.
I felt like a VIP.
That hurt.
That hurt
Yeah.
you. But you were a VIP in my book.
Oh well, we're all VIPs to each other, but just not to VMF. We're a product.
I
Yeah,
don't believe
we're-
we're a product of VMF. I don't.
No,
I
we're
just-
not a product of them, but they're prostituting us nonetheless.
How are they prostituting? This debate is so arguable for me.
No, so like where I got frustrated with it was during the last open studios, several people came in here being like, wow, they did such a great job renovating your space. They were telling the public that they did all of this work on our behalf, that they provided these spaces for us. And that pissed
Only
me
thing
off
that
just a little
I've
bit.
seen said publicly is that they were working on the outside of these units. I've never
Yeah.
seen them ever say that they were working on the insides of the units. If you can show me documentation that says that, I'm in.
I didn't see the documentation, but there was like over a
I
dozen.
think that's a
there was like
perception.
over a dozen people that came in and like had that thought. And
Should it
that
have been
was-
clearly mentioned that each person renovated those studios? Every time I've spoken on with MLAs who've come through our studio, people who've come through this area, I have talked vigorously about how each person has created their own space and how incredible it is to look at each one of these spaces and see what people have created. Sometimes it's up to us to become a loud enough voice about our own work that we don't care what is said outside.
and the amazing diversity that we have here.
Well, I can't speak to that at all.
I'm checking all the boxes, guys.
Well,
checking all of them.
without Zenna and my
anyways, whatever.
Judaism, there's literally no diversity in me.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm just the patriarchy. In fact, my episode of Motherland just came out 2 days ago.
Oh, excellent representation.
Yeah,
Good
I remember
right there.
seeing you post about
Yeah,
that.
well, you got to sell yourself a little bit here and there. But I was on set. There we are. Me literally blowing the mic.
Yeah,
And me just like,
Oh, that is actually
God,
beautiful.
oh no.
this is like the great representation of like you're going to like do another promotion for VMF and Zenna's just watching.
I feel like it's sort of me singing. If you look at it carefully, it looks like I'm going, Kumbaya, my Lord,
Yeah.
Kumbaya. Oh, I like that. That is a much better picture. But to finish this off, I did this episode of Motherland, a show about witches and the strength of women and whatnot, and it was really, really beautiful. It's a great show. I actually really highly recommend that people of teenage years watch it, because I think it speaks to a certain genre, and I think that it empowers younger people to sort of see the strength and the power of women. And I was in the middle of doing this part where I was playing like the evil male who's come there, who has no magic, who will, step on this world, which I think was a valuable part of this episode and part of this message. And this one girl turned to me and she said, I've never seen anybody represent the patriarchy better. And I didn't know whether to take it as a compliment or a diss. And I was
You
like,
worked really hard on that.
I don't play a racist. What is it? I'm not a racist. I only play one on television. Is that how it goes?
I do believe that
something
is
like
the
that,
story
yeah.
of your life.
Yeah. I am not a bigot. I'm not an ignorant, but I play one on television.
Do the peace signs,
I am not a criminal.
Ragno.
I am not a criminal. As much as I want to play one on television, I am not I really do enjoy playing evil characters. I cannot express it. If I could play only evil characters and stupid characters for the rest of my life, joy would be in my heart.
Joy. That's one of my favorite No Means No songs is Joy.
It's a good word, joy, though, right?
Yeah. Well, and they just repeat it over. It's like joy, joy, joy.
Which
No Means No
which is
great.
really close to some Krishna shit.
I think that's kind of where they're going with it, but then it gets into like, you know, some like heavy punk shit because like, you know, No Means No is like I think they're one of like Canada's oldest punk bands. Yeah.
Agreed. And also great. Love no means no.
Yeah.
Joy is a great word for me. Another word that is really hitting to me, a buddy of mine, Adrian Holmes, dropping names again. His word is grace. And I love this word, grace. I think there is a space for grace for all humans if they're willing to take it. And grace means that you don't walk alone and that you don't walk first every time.
I think like we could all use a little more grace.
Yes.
Like
achievable goal, grace.
Yeah, somewhat.
Unless you're a dick.
Yeah, just don't be a dick. Like it's
isn't that a rule of life though, Merlin?
That's my rule of life. You know, I attempt to not like I spent a time where I was a kind of a dick.
And there are times you are a dick.
When I'm forced to be, I don't like it. And I get
it feels ugly.
I get angry.
It feels really ugly
like
to be a dick.
If someone pushes me to that place where I have to be a dick about it, it makes me double angry because like I'm mad about the thing that made me.
And then you made me feel this way.
Yeah, and then like I'm also like I'm really mad that you made me get here. I don't like getting there. You know, it's very rare when I like lose my shit, but it's not fun either.
This is really creepy how many pictures have been taken of me during this. It's
because you're a handsome man. But on the grace thing, but before you jump in the other thing there, like, you know, one of the things that I've always loved and like Zenna seemed to have catched onto it too with the instant photography is being able to like share that moment with other people. And
that's a moment of grace.
I'm super stoked to have my Polaroid cameras back from Texas because those are my favorites to take photos with, and like because they fold up nice and small, they're like easy to put in a bag and stuff compared to like the box cameras. And you know, so I spent last weekend just giving portraits away to random strangers. But there's these two cats that hang out in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Like I live around Main and 28th, mm-hmm. and they hang out behind the CIBC at Main and 29th.
Great bank. It's my bank.
Yeah.
As soon as I've paid off my debts, I'm gone.
Yeah, I bank with BMO, but like you know, same difference. And Scotia. Most of my debt's with Scotia. But anyways.
Same pile, different deck.
Yeah, I mean, all the banks suck. But yeah, there's these two cats that hang out there. And with the grace thing, like I've taken some time to chat with them because I always see them around in the neighborhood, and like, you know, so I, you know, say like, hey, what's up? And I've gotten to know the guys a bit, and they're like interesting characters, like very interesting character. One dude's name's Rob. And then there's like this scruffy burly guy named Fred, but he prefers to be called the Main Street Sasquatch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting
but
choices.
Now he wants that to be modified. He would rather be called the East Van Sasquatch. And
he wants to encompass a larger area.
Well, because like he's been born and raised and lived his whole life in East Van. So
and he's not just a Main Street guy. He's all of these.
He wants to be all of East Van. Like people called him the Main Street Sasquatch because that's his like main haunt.
Yeah. And
the Sasquatch thing I think comes from he looks a little mangy sometimes.
How does this relate to Grace?
Well, so it was after we had tacos.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So when I was walking back to my house, Zenna and I had tacos on Tuesday. Alphabet City.
You've just gone off there. Somewhere.
No, it kind of like bounces and comes back. I think the audio is still fine though, because that's going through here.
Yeah.
This is what I get for buying a $40 Amazon HDMI thingy. So I think I'm gonna have to like spend some proper money.
So back to the Grace.
But back to the Grace. I'm like walking back to my house after tacos with Zenna. Alphabet City, great tacos and an amazing tequila selection. If you want to,
if you're gonna go there,
imbibe on that
after this podcast.
Yeah, and their burrito is really delicious.
So good.
So good. I ran into Fred and Rob, and Rob was like pretty down because someone stole his wallet, and like his whole life was in the wallet there, because I get the impression that they're homeless. And so they were definitely like drinking some feelings, and it was late in the evening, so like they were pretty torqued by the time we got there. But I was just chatting with them, and I was like, hey, would you guys like a Polaroid photo? And they got super jazzed about it. And Rob was telling me a story. He's like, I used to have an SX70, and he had quite a sizable camera collection at one point, apparently worth like several $100,000 that someone stole from him. And you know, and he was a legit Polaroid dude, because when I gave him the Polaroid, he like tucked it under his armpit, because that's the trick with Polaroids. If you want them to develop a little bit better, you put it in your armpit, and the warmth, it helps the chemicals develop, and it percolates.
So it's
just
pit
a little bit
development.
More. Yeah, pit development. But they got super jazzed at, like, you know, there was a photo of the two of them because they're always hanging out there, and I took one for each of them, but they didn't realize I was giving them to them. Mm-hmm. They thought I was keeping them.
Yeah.
And like when I gave it to them, like, you know, they got really emotional about it. And
as you do.
Yeah. And yeah, we talked a bit more, and they want me to go to a baseball game with them at some point. They love the baseball shit in Nat Bailey Stadium.
Well, it's right around the corner from you.
But it's just like, it didn't like ruin my day to like spend 20 minutes to just like chat with them.
No, not at all.
You know, it obviously made an impression for them, and just like sharing a little grace with each other, I think is important.
I really like the way you stated that, because I was trying to find where the space for grace was going to arrive. Sharing grace.
Yeah.
And it's not saying grace, thank the Lord.
No.
It's sharing grace, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even know how that word came to describe the Lord's Prayer and saying grace at the table. I don't know how that
because like, you know, they just like appropriating
appropriating and manipulation,
like,
right? Yeah. But one of the things you're touching on something that's become kind of important to Zenna and I's work here, which is the tactile nature of an Instax / Polaroid.
Yeah.
The tactile nature in the sense that you take the picture, it is what it is, but then the person holds it. And there's this assumption now in a digital world, because we live in one now, that you're going to keep that. As you said, you're going to keep that Polaroid or Instax.
Yeah.
When Zenna, she's taking pictures, people are always like, can I have it? Where there was this assumption when I first saw Polaroids that somebody would end up with it.
Yeah. Because
it wasn't mine for my service or my social media or where I was going to be. There was this real sense that you clicked it and then somebody would end up with it. And when when you go to parties and somebody has one of the magnetic ones.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah. And then people just sort of assume they're leaving with them. I'm drawn to this idea that somehow somebody walks away with something after you shoot. So I'm trying to incorporate that into the digital part of our shooting as well, so that whenever we're shooting with somebody, we want to have a printer present, so somebody can walk away.
Get one of those Instax thingies.
Yeah, but I'd also like it to be also just a digital thing as well. Like just have.
No, you can do it digital.
Oh no, I understand, but I'm talking about with the digital pictures that I'm taking.
Yeah.
Then we can then print those as well. So there's just something that your Polaroid Instax world that you guys both inhabit, that I think reintroduces personalization to the photography world that is so needed. The idea that it isn't just to capture this thing to show the world, it isn't just something I've taken for me or something that I've taken for you. It's just something that we can all hold on to and pass around. And this has been the lesson from the two of you. So I wanted to pose a question away from me and drive it back to Zenna and her Polaroid experience. Don't keep each shot. You don't have to put your finger up and make it look like you're giving me bunny ears, man.
I'm giving myself bunny ears here.
I want to know for you, Zenna, how did this Polaroid experience, Polaroid / Instax experience start for you? And what does it mean to you in your artistic state right now?
Well, I kind of spoke about this the last time I was on Merlin's The Birdcast.
The
Perdcast.
Birdcast. The Birdcast.
Welcome to
From the deep south.
photography
Birdcast.
chat with
Birdcast.
Merlin. It's my Perdcast.
The last time, I was on Merlin's podcast. I basically got into it by just watching him do it, like, the Polaroid door here, and take a portrait of everyone that comes into the studio. And I just remember that, I still have that like Fujifilm Instax Mini 90 that I had bought back when I was still in school. I just have to buy some film for it. And part of like the beauty of this whole art form is that it's tactile, but also like you can give it to people. And
So glad you didn't say organic.
so you can, it's kind of like
It's so organic.
it's
and
kind
so
of like
living.
showing up
Yeah.
with a gift for people.
It's like free range.
Oh, did you just hear that? Showing up with a gift for people, going back to your concept of grace and sharing grace.
Because like
it is a community thing, isn't it?
very much so.
Yeah.
Like you could buy someone a bottle of wine, or you could buy them whatever thing that that they want. But in a weird way, you could also just spend $40 on film and then show up and give people the memories and the physical print of that time and that moment. And that is your gift to the people whoever's event it is, but also to everyone who's there. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just buy some film. I bought, I think, like 20 exposures or whatever for the mini. And I went to the Leacock birthday party,
Which was incredible, the pictures you took there.
For Viv. And I just showed up, and I was like, you know what? If there was ever a time to like take pictures of people and just like hand it off and have some fun, like it was here. It was like one of the first parties back since like COVID. We were down in the room down in Cuchillos.
Great restaurant, by the way.
Yeah, and we were all having a blast. And there was just so much love and so much friendship there that like it was just so easy to shoot all of the exposures and just give them away. And
But you're prone to giving yours away. Like I'm almost begging you to record them beforehand, and it's like almost like you're willing to hold on to the memory rather than the digital memory, and then let them have it.
No, but that's a big thing. Like most of the like Polaroid portraits I take for people, I don't keep it. That's for them.
But do you understand? Like for me, coming from the digital world, what a true gift that is to say that this does not belong to me. It belongs to this moment, and it belongs to you. And as much as I am not a celluloid, organic living thing guy,
See, like, that was a digital photo, but now it's an Instax.
Yeah,
that came straight out of my film, digital camera.
Oh, I know. I understand that, but I'm with you. But I also want them to have my experience as well. Not everything has to be Polaroid Instax. People, you guys got a problem. But remember we were talking about therapists. Is there? By the way, is there rehab for what you do?
Well, I mean, rehab would mean there's something wrong with it, and there's nothing wrong with this.
There's nothing wrong with drugs either, but some people need rehab from it.
Yeah, capitalism sucks.
Is that like punctuation for most things? Capitalism sucks.
Capitalism's the worst.
Isn't that the little boy from The Simpsons? It's the worst.
Oh, Ralphie.
Yeah, Ralphie.
Yeah. I mean, we're all Ralphie right now. Like, there's that scene where he's like on the school bus, and it's like, I'm in danger. That's all of us right now.
I think it's time for us all to become a little Bart, though.
What, like,
or even one of my
favorite shorts, man.
I love Lisa is one of my favorite characters, and the I Am the Lizard Queen is probably my favorite episode.
Lisa needs braces. Dental plan.
She falls into the water at Duff Beer World, and then it makes her hallucinate, and she's like, "I'm the Lizard Queen."
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
It's my favorite episode. So I want to keep going back to. I didn't mean to interrupt Zenna's train of thought here. Is
like, sorry, Zenna.
That's all good.
No, but just this idea that like this idea that it's for the moment and for other people seems like such a grand thing when I think about it, but such a beautiful, simple thing when you just do it.
Yeah, it's incredibly simple. And I mean, you can make it more complicated if you wish. Like part of what we ended up doing at that birthday party, which was kind of fun, was like, okay, now I'm gonna give you this like Instax, and you have to go up to Viv and you have to get him to autograph it for you and like sign it so that you remember like this is what the event was and what this moment is.
Well,
You made it very-
that's an important thing though. So like most of the Polaroids I take, you got to put the meta information on the back of it. You know, put date, like, you know, where it was, so you remember, because I have a terrible fucking memory.
But I also like say it's really amazing because Zen and I have been talking about this. You're talking about the metadata, which I think is absolutely brilliant. But I think that also the idea that you yourself find a moment to caption it, and whether it be with somebody's signature or somebody like fucking great night or whatever it is, it becomes farts.
Yeah, farts. You were talking about farts, so
yeah, farts. I just love this idea with Zen. You don't make the Instax / Polaroid experience and just limited to the click, that where it comes out. You bring it into the real world and make it experiential every time.
Yeah, like I don't know, at the end of the day, like it's still this like incredibly magical technology. Like you take this picture, you like expose this piece of film, and like all of a sudden you have a picture right in your hand. Like it's just such a wonderful, magical, delightful medium, and like it just is intrinsically impressive in the way that it functions, and people are always like so happy to receive.
So
an instant print.
you and it's safe to say that you, Merlin, and yourself are Instax / Polaroid bitches.
I'm mostly Polaroid.
Yeah, but whichever one it is, you are a slave to it. You are a lover of it.
I wouldn't
buried
say slave
to
to it, but it's like it's a chosen tool. You know, it's.
But that's not the only tool you use, though. You're a man of many mediums, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, like mostly film stuff. Like I'm trying to like get my film chops back up after moving to Vancouver, because you know Vancouver kind of took the wind out of my creative sails for a while. But slowly trying to get back into it.
But see, for me, is it your love of celluloid that keeps from digital, or is there something you just really don't like about digital?
It's because I'm fucking lazy and I hate editing, honestly. And I found
that's truthful. I like that.
No, so like when I was living in Toronto, downtown camera spoiled the shit out of me. Like, in the before times, before the world ended, you know, I could wander.
And we're rebuilding it now, just so you know.
Slowly. Yeah, it's a different world though.
Think.
Yeah, there's a story behind that too. I could go take some photos in the morning, early afternoon, and if I got there before 2 o'clock, I could get same day service, and I could drop off like 4 or 5 rolls, and by the time I got home around 5 o'clock, I would have my scans, and I could just do them. And as long as I didn't fuck up my exposure or focus, the pictures were exactly how I wanted them to be. Okay. Because I'd spend a bunch of time experimenting with the different film stock, so I knew which stock would give me what feeling I wanted. So depending on what sort of mood I wanted in my photos, I would pick a specific stock, and as long as I didn't fuck it up, I wouldn't have to edit it. Versus like when I use my digital camera, I take a lot more photos with it. And then I have
that's the danger of digital. Right?
There's a danger of digital. And then the curse of it is you've taken all these extra photos, and now you have to fucking sit in Lightroom or Capture One or like whatever you use for doing your stuff and go through them all. You know, it's when I shoot my film
it's
camera,
horrible. It actually is horrible. But that's a horror of our own making, right?
It is a horror of our own making. But I remember even talking with Claudia, the general manager at Downtown Camera. She had these 2 guys that do like marketing photos. Like they're marketing photographers, and one of them shoots film only, the other shoots digital. The film guy's always done before the digital guy.
Oh, I could imagine. Yeah,
you know, he'll shoot like 2 or 3 rolls, which is like between like 2 or 3 times 24 or 36 or whatever. So like he'll get it developed by them, and is usually same day or next day, and then he gets the prints done that he needs, and he's all done. Digital guy like takes like 500 maybe more pictures.
He's got to make his selections,
and he's got
to do his specific preset attachment, and then the danger of having choice is now you're stuck making choices, right? So I understand it. For me, we're tossing parts of stuff at people. For me, I'm a firm believer that all of these are just different mediums. It's the same as somebody likes watercolor, somebody likes oil, somebody who likes this.
Yeah.
I don't think one is better than the other. I've chosen digital, A, because I don't have to smell those fluids. And then B,
I love the smell of the chemicals.
sure
I'm one
you
of
do.
those people that don't wear gloves. I like just like fucking getting right in there.
And then also, I love the manipulable space of digital. I love the fact that manipulation is possible, and that's part of the journey that I have with the photography, is how I can manipulate that experience in the front end while I'm doing it, and then afterwards, and following that journey. That's part, for me, life has become experiential.
Yeah.
And I like that part of it. Do I think that digital is better than celluloid? Absolutely not. Do I think celluloid is better than digital? Absolutely not. I just think they're different tools. And
There you go.
Is there more jizz on my face?
No. It's just your mic was too far away, so
Oh,
you're
okay.
getting quiet.
I just think that I get a little lost when people are trying to tell me that celluloid is better or digital is better. I think these are ridiculous statements.
Yeah, it's all preference. So
Yes.
like I don't like that sort of like one's better than the other, and like, you know, you're charlatan if you don't use this or that.
Yep.
And that's why, like, you know, there's this new, like, you know, Instagram replacement that people are talking about called Grainery. And it looks interesting. It could be promising. It's one dude that runs it. He's catching a lot of flack right now, but there's a lot of people that also enjoy it. But it's only for film. You can only upload film stuff on it. If you upload any digital, it will be removed. I almost didn't finish setting up my account on it because the very first thing it asks you to do before you can post a single photo, you have to input what kind of gear you have.
Ooh,
right?
That's not cool.
I don't like that at all. And then every time you post a photo,
You have to mention the gear.
yes, and it's like you have to mention the film stock, the camera, and the lens that you
You're
use.
basically publicly telling people what they can steal at this point.
Well, I mean, there's that, or it's like, you know, you're like, I shot this with a Noctilux and I like M6, and now
Magician
I'm gonna
telling their
masturbate
tricks
about
kind
it
of thing?
later. Yeah, well, it's just
Or the
If
wank
it-
vest that comes with talking about what you got.
well, there's that, and then just like that kind of stuff gets into like a realm of like classist and elitism,
Agreed.
and like, you know, I don't feel it fosters a good community, and so I was a little disappointed that was like the primary focus, and yeah, and I mean, like, a lot of people are upset about Instagram right now, and I personally feel a tiny bit like it's not very merited. It's not very fair because they need to do things to try to maintain relevancy and, like, you know, whatever, make money, because like at the end of the day, they're a business, and
Yes, which they should
they're
be.
still providing it to us 100% free.
Yeah.
Like there's no paid option or anything for it. Like it's still a free thing. So because it's completely free, there is some, like, you know, pay to play kind of things that go on here. And, you know, part of that is getting some ads or like these other things. But I've said it plenty of times before, and like I'll continue saying it until it stops being a reality that I see. I feel Instagram is like one of the most democratic social media platforms that's out there, because look at what happened with like the latest thing where they tried to enable like that more TikTok like feel to it, which only lasted a few days before everyone like kicked and screamed and lost their shit about it. And Instagram was like, whoa, shit. Okay, we're going to like dial it back. You know, there's no other social media platform out there where the users have power like that to push back on and enforce the platform.
Is somewhat singular, even though we're talking about like the moving images and what. It's very visually based. It's singular, and I think it's a place where Meta can allow more Meta.
No, you can't.
Meta can horrible name, by the way. Our overlords can let us play a little bit more, whereas, you know, Facebook, for example, and Twitter, we're moving in all different directions.
Yeah,
we are pretty much when you're on Instagram, you're sort of there looking, and basically, when I'm gathering from what you said is the person who's not just uploading, but the person who's actually viewing was like, no, that's not what I want to look at.
Exactly,
because we have one avenue to go down. And I think that's the power of Instagram.
Well,
Is that
there's
it is simple. It's like Instax and Polaroid. It's simple.
Well, and there's the power of that, and then it's also they still, regardless of all the changes they've made, they haven't perverted the most important thing on the platform for me, which is the communities.
Yeah.
It's the communities that we all have access to through this platform are pretty incredible. And I've met some really amazing people who will be friends for life solely because of Instagram. Like I would have never interacted with these
This is a
people
very
otherwise.
common story.
And so like it's easy to hate on things because it's like, we all like original Coke more than like, the whatever.
OG Coke.
Yeah, make Coke again. Anyways.
Are we talking about
Wait a
both of
minute.
those Cokes?
Take it as you will.
I want to make all Coke great again and make it OG.
Yeah, there we go. And
Make Coke again.
exactly. And let's bring back 80s pricing to it.
Yes, agreed.
Um
I like that idea of make Coke again. I know about 200 people who would be happy to hear that.
exactly. Someone's like, what?
Exactly. Let's not make it methamphetamine. Let's make it Coke again.
Yeah, exactly. It's family friendly. It gets people motivated, energized.
And Instagram doesn't need to be Instagram again because it's busy being Instagram.
Well, and Instagram is just Instagram.
Yeah.
Like we've all evolved and changed along with it. Like I think about my journey with Instagram. Like I've been on it since 2011, like almost since it started. And I've also left my feed alone. So mostly because I'm like going back to the laziness factor, trying to curate almost 8,000 photos sucks. Like, when I was at like 5,000 photos, I timed how long it took to scroll to the bottom, and it was 5 minutes of scrolling. Yeah. Like just constant scrolling to get down.
A lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
But that's a journey that somebody might want to go on.
Well, and I look at it like kind of like an archaeological dig because since 2017, it's mostly all photography stuff. But before that, when I first got on Instagram, it was like pictures of my dogs and my ex-wife, and look at this dinner we had, and look at exactly. And then it's kind of evolved from there. And I think like that's kind of a cool thing with Instagram is that there's no platform left right now that has that sort of like interesting
but
history without additions to it. Like Facebook. Yeah,
exactly. But that's what I was talking about before. Yeah, very much so. But Facebook, to me, the difference. Twitter, I could not give a hoop about a lot of the time, and it has mostly to do with it just sounds like a lot of barking to me and a lot of biting. But that's just me. Yeah. With Instagram and Facebook, I was talking to somebody, and the thought that came to my mind was, Instagram is your journal. Facebook is your journal. Instagram is your scrapbook.
I like that.
And that's how I sort of see it. And I was always more drawn to a scrapbook.
Yeah, and Facebook's also where you're like, racist uncle or like,
Well, you can find your racist uncle anywhere. That's the problem. And most probably you're sitting on his lap. But...
That's true. Or like drunk uncle. That's one of my favorite Saturday Night Live characters is the drunk uncle one. But yeah,
I love that where this conversation has gone on many parts. We've touched on photography, we've touched on personal experience, we've touched on the studio we share.
We touched on a cult.
We touched on a cult, and the cult should touch you as much as you touch on
You
it.
thought about photography, and we expressed that when you think about photography, touch yourself.
I mean, yes.
Masturbation is good. You should
and masturbation is good.
And God and Jesus are not judging you, especially Jesus, because I feel like
Jesus would not judge you.
Well, I feel like when he was alive, he probably did some weird shit.
Oh yeah. As you said, most probably either trans / non-binary. Like
it hung out with prostitutes all the time.
Oh yeah, most definitely gay.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Yeah.
He's definitely a good time guy.
A single rabbi with 12. His best friend was a girl.
Turns water into wine. Yeah.
Loves a good time.
Wherever Jesus goes, that's where the party's at.
And probably one of the most stylish people at the time.
Probably sucked a mean dick.
Yeah. And a terrorist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this, everything about him sounds great. I would totally hang. Refurbished Jesus, right?
Not like Amazon Returns Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about a person of color. Like so much rich heritage, like
Mhm.
probably in chat.
Probably.
And I always did well with the, I don't know what the term is now, fruit fly. So I might have ended up with Mary. Could have ended up like, I would have been really good. Not Mary Magdalene, not his mom.
Yeah. I mean, there's
I think
nothing
she
wrong
doesn't
with
get
going
enough
after the
press,
moms.
Mary
Yeah,
Magdalene, by
she
the way.
deserves more press.
Yeah, as you know, it's the shaming of sex workers such that we now
Oh,
we
what the
need to bring her
fuck?
back.
Instagram
what?
just locked my account.
Oh no.
I guess
It's all talking Jesus.
I don't know. Well, we went over 2 hours, so maybe that's it.
They've locked the entire account.
Well, yeah, it says
Can't have access to it.
it says we've detected suspicious activity on your Instagram account and have temporarily locked it as a security precaution.
Okay, well that's answer.
Well, I guess that ends the podcast. So
But that's just Instagram. We're still on YouTube though, right?
no, because it's streaming on YouTube, but we're not on video on YouTube because the video is coming through the Instagram.
Okay.
So right now the YouTube has our audio, but it's just showing your account's been locked.
So YouTube is still listening to us though, right?
Yeah, no one's listening on YouTube.
I know.
Weird. It says we're still live, but then there's a delay, and then I think it just pauses.
Huh.
And then it's done.
Well, I guess that's a good place to end it there. So,
well, you've recorded this whole thing, have you not?
Oh yeah, it's recorded on the Roadcaster. So
Okay.
this will get uploaded onto podcast.
Yeah. So shame.
Yeah.
Instagram for detecting our. I really think it's my attack on Jesus.
No, I think it was because we went over 2 hours and
Maybe we mentioned the word sex cult too many times.
Oh,
we said cult. We never said those two words together. Oh, I would have warned you a bit earlier, Zenna. Yeah, sex cult. Now that we're not on Instagram.
yeah. Or do you remember that cartoon Mission Hill?
No.
It was like this funky cartoon in the mid 2000s, but there's this like really straight laced kid, and a crank caller phones him up, and he's like in a trench coat or a payphone, and this kid's like, "Hello, who's there?" And this trench coat guy's like, "Penis, penis, penis, penis," and the kid's like, "Oh!" It totally disrupted him.
I'm all for disruption, and I want to end the road podcast for myself here, which is I have had an absolutely amazing time. This is not what I thought it was going to be. It's better than I thought it was going to be, and it's made me realize that potentially I think I want to develop a podcast for me and you to talk to guests.
I'm down with that.
I don't know, free form talk. Go fuck yourself talk.
We could just call it.
Oh, you see how Zenna hopped on that. My job always to been a DJ for a day and call myself DJ Go Fuck Yourself. What's DJ Go Fuck Yourself want? Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could just have like a bow, 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 bow. Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me, both of you. And it sucks about the Instagram, whatever.
Do we get a copy of this? Can we get a copy of this?
You can get a copy of it, yeah.
Okay.
It'll also be on Spotify and Apple.
Oh, okay, so I can get a copy of the link of share with my one fan.
Yeah. Your
okay.
biggest fan.
My biggest fan.
Yeah.
Whoever they are, I don't even know them yet.
Yeah.
My one and only biggest fan.
It makes it kind of fun.
Yeah. And will I be able to find the live portion of this once you're unlocked?
Yeah, hopefully.
And can I share that?
Of course. Yeah.
World this experience.
Of course. Well, and then it'll be on YouTube as well, so you can share the YouTube thing.
God, there's so many places to share.
I know.
Sort of like people messaging me everywhere and expecting a response constantly.
Thank you so much for both of you to come hang out with me. And next week I'm going to have Nick Collingwood Vintage on, so we'll chat it out with him. And
do we get sounded out?
Yeah, well, I'll let Mr. Mocha walk us out here. Is that a doorbell noise? All right, thanks everyone. Love you guys. Okay, talk to you next week. Bye.
you shared Insta Live onto your Insta Live.